Since we're like almost halfway through, I'm gonna take a pause, and I just had a thought. If SEC and Big Ten decide to split from the NCAA and create their own Super League, do you think that everybody else should just drop into FCS?
And I actually thought so, but I mean, you can also argue, like there's a lot of programs that just, put through a lot of effort to move up. I'm not sure if they're going to like that, but who knows? Like, I think in the end, like they're better together. So I'm probably in the minority opinion that yes, they should.
Hello, 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 and welcome to this early morning recording of Updog Sports Talk on Father's Day weekend. Joining me today, I'm Matt Miller. I don't know if I said that. My coffee really hasn't hit in yet. Joining me today is Justin McGovern. What's going on, Justin?
What's up, everybody? Excited to jump in today, talk about some FCS football. Obviously with the transfer portal and stuff, some things are still kind of settling out, so we're not quite ready to do a full-on preview, but we wanted to go ahead and give you some FCS versus FCS matchups to look forward to, as well as what are those upset alerts, which FCS teams are going to really be a danger to FBS teams, and then finally, we decide, if you don't have an FCS team, maybe you need to look at some cool logos to figure out which one you want to root for.
Yeah, and FCS is very underappreciated. It's
Yes.
more of an authentic style of college football with a true playoff.
Yeah. And obviously, as we continue to see more and more drama, it's becoming apparent this is where drama, sorry. It's becoming apparent this is where the real college football is getting played, and it's potentially moving forward the only place where the real college football is being played.
Yeah. Not tiered, anything like that. There's a few teams that a few years ago we would have been awesome to see in FBS, but now we're becoming huge FCS fans, and we have actually chosen our team for not this upcoming season, but the following season. But we'll get to that a little later. Justin, start the slides.
All right. So jumping in here, our top 10 FCS non-conference matchups of this year. Leading us off right away here is the South Dakota State Jackrabbits taking on the Incarnate Word Cardinals. South Dakota State doesn't really need much introduction. I think most people know that they pretty much just rolled through everybody on their way to the FCS championship last year. Incarnate Word also had a really good team. They only lost one game the whole entire year, but it was unfortunately the most critical game to win their conference. They did not win the conference. And as a result, because they were deemed to not have a strong strength of schedule, they missed the FCS playoffs altogether because of one loss. So what did they do? They went out to schedule a lot tougher. There's no tougher matchup to schedule than this one. Also, Incarnate Word's quarterback is a somewhat familiar name to some people. Zach Calzada. He was the former quarterback at Texas A&M. Mostly struggled in his year at quarterback there, but randomly went off in beating Alabama. So maybe he has some of that magic here too.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was he, a 4-star recruit or something like that?
Yeah.
He kind of fell. I mean, to fall to FCS after being like a semi high recruited quarterback, it's kind of slap in the face. But at the same time, like, this is where you get to showcase these skills, because South Dakota State actually has quite a few nationally televised games. And
right.
I believe that might be one of them. So this is a chance for him to showcase what he can do.
Yeah, and Incarnate Word has also been a place that's been very good to offenses and offensive coaches. Lately, they've churned out coaches to be head coaches in FBS. North Texas's head coach came from Incarnate Word. Now he has a stop as Washington State's offensive coordinator in between. And then also GJ Kinney from at Texas State right now, who's killing it. Texas State. He came from Incarnate Word. And also at the quarterback position, they had, they had Lindsey Scott, who won the FCS version of the Heisman, basically, just to keep it in shorter terms. And also the quarterback before that was Cam Ward, who is now with the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah. So they pump out some talent. But you know who else pumps out some talent? South Dakota State.
Yeah.
They're just a powerhouse. The alma mater of Adam Vinatieri, and them and North Dakota State just seem to be the cream of the crop of the FCS. And like the Alabamas and the Ohio States, it just seems like it's them two, and then a gap in talent after that. Now that gap is starting to close a little bit, but it should be a good game.
Yeah. And actually, it's kind of funny because, you said Alabama, Ohio State. This is probably more Alabama and Georgia just because they're in the same conference.
Yeah.
But yeah. And by the way, their starting quarterback returns. The guy has won 2 championships already, and he's coming for a 3rd. And this is going to be a big game on that road.
A lesser
mentioning the road
about
to the
game.
championship. Yeah, mentioning the road to the championship. The Albany Great Danes versus the Idaho Vandals. This matchup's pretty familiar because last year in the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs, they played each other in the exact same location in the Kibbe Dome, and the Albany Great Danes came out with a massive upset. Idaho has a chance to avenge that right now.
Kibbe Dome might be the best venue in FCS, by the way.
Well, I might be inclined to disagree in a little bit, but we'll get to that.
But the Great Danes, I mean, like they're chasing a championship again, so it'll be a fun game to watch. Although, Idaho, not quite as bad as they were in FBS. They were pretty terrible in FBS.
They had their struggles. I think the Big Sky kind of fits them a little bit better. Although, like, I feel like also them being at the FCS level kind of gave everyone that turn with the Kibbe Dome where they're like, you know what? We miss the Kibbe Dome now. Like, we actually appreciate what this venue is. I kind of wish we had seen that happen while Idaho was at the FBS level.
Yeah.
And also this game's going to kind of shape like what these two teams look like because they were awesome last year, but they both got hit kind of hard by the transfer portal, but then they also kind of utilized the transfer portal, bring people in too. So they're kind of changing a little bit. And I'm very curious to see what they both end up looking like afterwards.
Yeah. The next matchup we have is Norfolk State Spartans versus the Florida A&M Rattlers. Now, we didn't put the Florida A&M Rattlers in our logo section for later on, but I do have to admit they have a pretty cool logo. So we may have dropped the ball on that.
Agreed.
But Chad Ochocinco is a big fan of the Florida A&M Rattlers, and his tweets pop up quite often about them. So I get to follow along without actually intending to follow along.
Yeah, and this is actually a pretty huge game. The MEAC SWAC Challenge. This game is week 0, ABC prime time. So that alone is like a huge reason to tune in. We've been without football for so long, and then we get to see these two programs battle it out. This is going to be a huge HBCU game to kind of determine what does Florida A&M look like after their head coach Willie Simmons left. He did an incredible job there, by the way, because back in I think it was 2021 or 2022, their team was about to quit because of the administration. And at the last moment, he managed to gather them together to play. And they actually were somewhat competitive in their opener against North Carolina and just have risen since then, to the point where they just absolutely dominated the SWAC last year on their way to a Celebration Bowl victory. But yeah, now he's gone. What does that team look like without him? And on the other side, Norfolk State kind of rising a little bit. Are they going to be able to step up and contend with North Carolina Central and Howard in the MEAC this year? We're going to find out with how they play in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a good matchup. But another good matchup, an underappreciated matchup, is Youngstown State Penguins at Villanova.
Yeah, so this is another playoff rematch. In the FCS playoffs last year, Villanova took down Youngstown State in the playoffs to move on. Villanova would eventually lose to South Dakota State after being actually somewhat competitive with South Dakota State in just the craziest wins you've ever seen during a game. Now Villanova gets another shot at it. The CAA is kind of battling for legitimacy a little bit. They continue to add a lot of teams. A lot of people don't see them because their games are on Flow Sports, which nobody has. So this is a huge opportunity for them to get a victory over a Missouri Valley Conference team. And really, Villanova, if they can win this one, their path really clears to potentially go undefeated to the FCS playoffs.
Since we're like almost halfway through, I'm gonna take a pause, and I just had a thought. If SEC and Big Ten decide to split from the NCAA and create their own Super League, do you think that everybody else should just drop into FCS?
I have actually I only mentioned this once in a heated moment because I was kind of mad about what the SEC and Big Ten are doing. And I actually thought so, but I mean, you can also argue, like there's a lot of programs that just, put through a lot of effort to move up. I'm not sure if they're going to like that, but who knows? Like, I think in the end, like they're better together. So I'm probably in the minority opinion that yes, they should. I don't think a lot of people would agree with that opinion.
I think if they end up doing that, then like there should be tiered playoffs. Like how there's tiered like March Madness tournaments. I think there should be tiered playoffs and give some incentive to the teams that like all these teams. A lot of these teams probably wouldn't make it if like Oklahoma, well, I guess Oklahoma's in the SEC now, but like like Duke and North Carolina and Virginia Tech and a lot of other schools, if they end up playing in FCS, I feel like there needs to be like a supplemental playoff to like reward these teams for doing good.
But I'd be curious to see what it would look like. Honestly, I would like it to keep the FCS format because the idea that like 1 year, like if Virginia Tech had to go to Montana in the middle of the winter,
that would be electric.
And the funny thing is, like that does happen, and nobody complains about it. It's actually pretty amazing. Like,
yeah,
this is what a playoff format could look like if people would stop complaining. Most notably in the SEC and Big Ten, because they just they apparently think they deserve whatever. Anyways, back to this because we don't have the SEC and Big Ten trying to ruin things here for the most part.
And this is probably our favorite rivalry. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. It's not Montana State, but this is probably one of our favorite matchup is the Missouri State Bears at the Montana Grizz.
So, this one honestly ends up on the list out of biasness. The reason why we are biased is because this is my game announcement here. We'll have boots on the ground because I am officially going to this game. So this is going to be my week 1 early season game this year. usually because of, trying to set up like a trip schedule around whatever game we go to, my wife and I. It's got to go around her schedule. So usually it's going to be an early season game in a different location other than around Ohio, or the one weekend we go to Colorado. So I was very torn. It ended up being between going on a trip to Montana and seeing this game, or going down to the Southwest and seeing New Mexico versus Montana State, which we'll get to later. But yeah, I'm excited to have landed on this game. As for the matchup itself, it's going to be interesting to see, has Montana figured out the quarterback situation after their quarterback transferred to McNeese State? And obviously we know their defense is going to be good. They have a very good defense. Junior Bergen is an electric returner. It's going to be fun to see him. Missouri State I'm not sure what to expect from them, because, this is kind of a situation where teams sort of tanks a season pretty much, because they're probably getting ready to redshirt a lot of their best players to have them ready for the FBS level next year.
Yeah. Also, is this the August 31st game?
Yep.
So we were looking at doing an Updog trip, the three of us, but my daughter and Chad's daughter start preschool the following week. So yeah, it just turned out that it wasn't that possible to go. So Justin, enjoy the game. I secretly hate you a little bit for being able to go. But yeah, it'll be an electric game. I was looking forward to that matchup, but one of these days I'm gonna have to get out to Montana again and see one of the games. But moving on, we have the Furman Paladins at the William and Mary Tribe.
Yeah, so this one's gonna be very interesting. Furman was very good last year. They were undefeated for a large part of the season. They seem set to have a 2 seed, which would mean that everyone, would have to come to them in the playoffs. Then the very last week, they absolutely blow it against a 1-9 Wofford team and lost. So Furman drops to I think a 7 seed, and eventually ends up having to go to Montana. Keep in mind, Furman's in South Carolina, if you don't know that. So a Southern team has to go all the way up to Montana in the middle of the winter. I think the high temperatures for that game were in the single digits, very cold. And Furman was actually pretty competitive. But now they lose a lot of key players from that team. What do they look like? On the other side, William and Mary, they were expected to be really good. They were the CAA favorites last year. Started out 4-0, and then had some injuries, and they just collapsed. Just collapsed so badly. So now this year it's kind of, is William and Mary able to get back up to that level again? And that's kind of what we're going to see here. Is Furman going to remain where they were? Can William and Mary get back to what they were?
I don't think so. But we'll see.
Man, not optimistic at all.
Yeah, it's pessimism month. Just kidding. Moving on to UC Davis Aggies at the Southern Utah Thunderbirds.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about this one. Southern Utah is a program on the rise, despite the fact that the NCAA hit them with very silly violations. Called them for tampering. We're apparently focusing on them, even though, the SEC and Big Ten are very blatantly tampering. But anyways, that aside, Southern Utah is still on the rise. Can they contend for the UAC championship in the playoff bid this year? We'll find out in this game as they take on UC Davis from the Big Sky. A huge home opportunity against the Big Sky. A lot of times that's a harder game to get. So that's going to be a big one for them. UC Davis, their head coach, Dan Hawkins, retired. So now what does their new era look like?
Moving on to quite possibly the best logo in FCS. And I'm pretty sure we dropped the ball on this one too. The Portland State Vikings at the Chattanooga Mocs.
Chattanooga. By the way, that Portland State logo you're thinking of, I think is the old one. I don't think they're using it
Really?
anymore.
They
Yeah.
changed it? That's so dude. I'm not
I know. This is where like programs keep trying to like they keep thinking that people want like a simpler thing and they're sacrificing identity for it. But I mean Portland State's new logo is not bad. I just their old one, which I did drop the ball in adding their old one in there. Just a spoiler alert. Just keep in mind that we kept that in there. Mentioning old logos that we like though. Chattanooga is one of them. Yeah, this is a huge SoCon versus Big Sky matchup. Yet again, it's very tough for a SoCon team to get a Big Sky team at home. So this is a critical opportunity for Chattanooga. They finally broke a long playoff-less streak last year by making the playoffs, even though they really had to sweat it out because they dropped the late season game to Western Carolina they shouldn't have. Then with their playoff hopes on the line, they had to go with a freshman quarterback to play Alabama. So, that was never going to be a winning situation. They just had to hope that after taking that beating that, the playoff committee would still consider them, worthy of the playoff spot. They were. They did make the playoffs. So now this year, looking to build upon that, make the playoffs yet again. This is a critical game for that. Meanwhile, Portland State, they have a little bit of hope this year. They could potentially make a huge step in the right direction. Going on the road and winning this game would be huge for them in order to do that.
Isn't Chattanooga the team that Alabama decides to try to play every single year?
I feel like they play each other so frequently.
Like to the point where it's like almost a rivalry, but like everyone knows that Alabama's going to destroy them. So like maybe Chattanooga is like making out with millions and millions of dollars, but like I don't know if I would sacrifice like getting absolutely embarrassed on the field for millions of dollars. Like,
well, I mean, there's a place for it. This does help fund their athletic department. It is a huge payday for them. But the timing of it is just all wrong. Like, for one, like while other conferences are playing bigger competitive games, the SEC teams are playing games like this. And on the flip side, teams like Chattanooga are having to take a beating like this right before their biggest games of the year, the playoffs. Like,
yeah,
the timing of these games just makes no sense. Like, get this game, done early in the year. That way we're not, having Chattanooga take rough hits right before the playoffs, and so that we're seeing competitive games at the end of the year.
I would almost rather see Chattanooga play Tennessee.
Actually, you know what? That's the season opener. That's the season opener this year.
That's funny.
Spoiler alert. Unfortunately, that one does not show up in our FCS over FBS upset alerts.
No. But moving on, the New Hampshire Wildcats at the Holy Cross Crusaders. Justin, is this the Holy Cross in South Bend across the street from Notre Dame?
It is not. This is the Holy Cross in New England. A New England special here, in fact. Holy Cross has been awesome these last 2 years. They've made the playoffs and everything. But now their head coach, Bob Chesney, left for James Madison. So what does this team look like without him? New Hampshire is also expected to be a CAA contender to make the FCS playoffs. So what do the Wildcats look like? This is going to be a critical game, in terms of the playoff at-large picture.
Yeah, and I know nothing about either of these teams, but I would really like to go to a random game like this.
Yeah. Well, also and I wanted to make sure I included a New England game on here because I feel like it's a region that, it has a huge population, but doesn't pay enough attention to college football. And
all they have is Boston College and UMass.
Yeah. But like these programs could be so much better if they got more invested in it. Now, obviously, I know there's a lot of people that went to the Ivy League, and the Ivy League teams I didn't really include in here because like they kind of they're kind of weird. They do their own thing a little bit. Like they play maybe one non-conference game a year. They start later than everyone, and they don't compete in the playoffs as well. So they're even though they're in FCS, they're kind of a league of their own. But obviously, so I know there's a big part of that, but like still, like like New Hampshire, Maine, all these programs, like they could be really, really good if these huge populations got behind them. This is just an area that so underserves college football.
Yeah. I wonder what the credentials would have to be as a YouTuber to get a media pass to these games. Like, if we got big enough, we could just start getting media passes and then just like reporting from the sidelines. Like, that would be dope.
Yeah, I mean that's a dream one day.
Yeah,
and that's the dream of this program at some point.
Yeah, help us make money. We want to quit our day jobs. Justin, I know you don't want to crunch numbers all day, and I'm done talking to people in public. So
Oh wait, just to talk to people on the screen instead.
Pretty much. Yeah, but I get to talk to you or I get to interview players. Like that would be dope.
Yeah.
Moving on from our dreams and back to our
back to the topic at hand.
The North Dakota State Bison at the ETSU Bucks.
Yeah, so this is another rare this time Missouri Valley team going on the road to a SoCon team. This one may not end up being competitive, but I really like this game because I mean this is a huge deal that East Tennessee State got the North Dakota State Bison to come all the way to Johnsonville, Tennessee. Johnson City, Tennessee. What am I doing?
Shout out to Johnson City Toyota. I just bought my truck from them. I'm going to be rooting for ETSU in this game simply because of that.
Yeah. I'm going to be rooting for East Tennessee State too. I really like what they got.
Don't get me wrong. We're big fans of North Dakota State.
I'm literally wearing a North Dakota State hat right now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I like East Tennessee State as well. They have an extremely underrated stadium as well. Like it's actually pretty cool. They started football kind of recently.
Wait, hold on. Going back, did you say Johnsonville?
Yeah. I was like Johnsonville brats. Like, what am I doing?
It's too early to think about brats, man.
But it's summer. It's summer. Brats are always
it is summer. Since it's Father's Day weekend, I actually just got a bunch of grill accessories for my Blackstone. Shout out Blackstone. Not paid we're not getting paid by them. I will just out of pocket root for them. But yeah, I just got a bunch of grill accessories and I'm super excited about it.
Very nice. Yeah, it seems food is what gets the free shout outs on here.
Yeah. Food or like food accessories. Right. Or accessories of the food accessories.
But yeah, it is a huge deal that East Tennessee State is hosting this game. I'm happy for them. But obviously it's gonna be a very tough matchup. This is the first time that North Dakota State has gone to the Southeast region in over a decade at least. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that completes our FCS non-conference top 10 matchups.
Next, our FCS over FBS upset alerts. Which games?
Number one, we have the Montana State Bobcats at the New Mexico Los Lobos.
This was the other game under my consideration for an early season game. This is the debut for Bronco Mendenhall and the New Mexico Lobos, so getting some momentum early in the year is critical. But man, they face a tough Montana State team. Their quarterback Tommy Bellot, man, I cannot speak this morning. He is back. he can, and this is the best running offense in FCS. They averaged nearly 7 yards per run last year. So, and by the way, New Mexico was not a great run stopping team last year. Now they're going to look a lot different because they lost a lot of guys and brought in a lot of guys in the portal. But yeah, their run defense is going to be tested early and often the year. This is a hard hitting run offense. Like they're gonna get after you.
Yeah. Moving on, we have a localized matchup of Sacramento State Hornets at the San Jose State Spartans.
By the way, coaches in year one is very much a theme here. I don't know why, but a lot of teams who are starting new with a brand new head coach ended up scheduling games against very tough FCS teams. This is another case here. Ken Niumatalolo is back in head coaching at San Jose State, and boy, does he have a tough test here. Sacramento State has been a huge problem for FBS teams recently. Last year, they beat Stanford on the late touchdown. And the year before that, they absolutely demolished Colorado State. I think they won that game like 41-10.
Dang.
So needless to say, San Jose State is in danger here. and by the way, Sacramento State's quarterback, Caden Bennett, is back. So their offense is going to be just as dangerous as ever.
And moving on to not Jacksonville State, Jackson State Tigers at UL Monroe Warhawks.
Yeah, so this is a little combination of both here. Both that UL Monroe is positioned to be pretty bad potentially. They could be really tearing down the Suds and starting over here. They're near last.
Not only that, FBS. They also lost the moniker of just the University of Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a huge loss some time ago, but I mean, it was kind of funny because they kept arguing it, and then Louisiana just kind of aggressively kept doing it until eventually they just gave up. Like they literally just took it. Like that's all they did. It was kind of funny.
That is pretty funny.
But yeah, UL Monroe also with a new head coach. And really, yeah, just near dead last in returning production. They're a completely different team this year. A lot of freshmen. Like they signed nearly like a 40-person freshman class. But they did bring in a transfer. A really fun transfer, Matt. General Booty.
Yeah.
Needless to say, though, he's going to have if he gets the starting job, it's going to be a tough test for him because Jackson State's going to be pretty good. Last year was kind of a bit of a reset after Deion Sanders left. Now this year, kind of building back up. Jackson State's going to be a contender for the SWAC, and they're going to be a very tough matchup for UL Monroe early on.
Yeah. Next up, we have the team with quite possibly the coolest field in all of college football at any level. The Eastern Washington Eagles. Unfortunately, the game's not played there, but they do travel to Nevada to take on the Wolfpack.
Yeah, so I don't know why, but Nevada's been glutton for punishment lately. They keep scheduling these really tough FCS teams. 2 years ago, Nevada lost an offensive shootout to Incarnate Word. And then last year, Nevada got absolutely demolished by Idaho. And then they turned around to play another tough FCS opponent this year. Eastern Washington really disappointed last year. They actually only went 4-7, but they bring back a lot of a very senior heavy group. So this group is going to be ready to go on a revenge tour here. I think Eastern Washington's ready to return to Big Sky contention again, and also very much ready to take down Nevada, who's starting over with a new head coach.
And moving on to the next matchup on our list, the Lafayette Leopards at the Buffalo. Don't autocorrect them to Bulls.
I've had that actually happen before.
Quite often. Almost every
Yeah.
time I text about the Buffalo Bulls to you, it always corrects to the Bills because we talk about the Bills so often.
Right. And I don't know why, but Buffalo appears to always try to take on a tough Patriot League team, and it has not worked for them. 2 years ago, they lost to Holy Cross. Last year, they lost to Fordham. And now this year, they're taking on Lafayette, who is expected to contend for the Patriot League. Buffalo starting over with a new head coach also. Yes, the top 5 FBS teams on this list all have a new head coach. This is a dangerous situation here for Buffalo.
Yeah. Moving on to the University of Tennessee Martin Skyhawks at the newly FBS program Kennesaw State Owls.
Yeah, so I really don't know what to expect out of Kennesaw State because they kind of tanked last year, redshirted most of the team. But if they're not all ready to be completely competitive, this is going to be a tough game because UT Martin is not a complete pushover of a team. They're expected to be an FCS playoff contender, expected to be one of the top contenders in the Ohio Valley Conference, and maybe break through and finally win that conference because they have gotten extremely unlucky where they've lost tiebreakers back-to-back years, including 2 years ago where they lost on a literal coin flip. Yes, Matt, they actually did flip a coin to determine the conference winner.
Moving on to the best team in the FCS facing the best team in the FBS. Just kidding. North Dakota State Bison taking on Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. That'll be a fun game to watch. Is it nationally televised?
Yeah. Nationally televised the opening Thursday.
That is going to be electric. I am excited to see what the Buffaloes can do this year. But like I said, we always root for the Bison. We want the Bison and the Jackrabbits to jump up to FBS, assuming that the Super League doesn't take place. But this would be the ultimate test for the Bison to show that they're competitive at the next level. And Travis Hunter and the Sanders kids, it's going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of podcasters are very anti-Colorado. We are pro-Colorado because we have a really good friend that works there. So we're serving this game up here on this list as a warning. To anyone in Colorado that potentially sees this game, please take this game seriously. This is a dangerous team that's coming into Boulder. When I saw this on the schedule, I did ask our buddy, I was like, why is this game on here? I mean, I'm glad it is. It's great TV that it is. And by the way, this is going to be huge exposure for North Dakota State. There are going to be more eyes on them than ever. And did they have an opportunity to really set their names apart. Like they could end up making a lot of fans on that opening Thursday. But it'll be interesting because North Dakota State does have a new head coach. But obviously he's someone who has been with the program before, so you would expect things to continue as normal there.
Yeah. Next up, the Fordham Rams at the Bowling Green State University Falcons.
Yeah, so nice. That was actually a pretty good Falcon screech.
Thanks. I've had enough coffee to do it.
Yeah, so this is another one of our favorite teams on the warning spot here. This is not a cakewalk opener, Bowling Green. This is a Fordham team that has terrorized the MAC the last 2 years. As I mentioned earlier, they beat Buffalo last year. The year before that, against an Ohio team that would go on to the MAC championship, Fordham put up 52 points on that Ohio defense. They ended up losing 59-52, but Fordham still gave them a tough game. Fordham has an awesome offense. And yeah, Bowling Green's defense better be ready. They have some new starters on that side too. So it's going to be really interesting.
And next up, and I know it's pronounced Arkansas, but our favorite way to say it is Arkansas. So the Central Arkansas Bears at the Arkansas State Red Wolves.
Yeah, I had to give it up because, I think 2 years ago, Arkansas and Kansas played each other in both football and basketball, and Arkansas won both. So I was like, okay, fine, it sells. I guess Arkansas is the proper way to say it. But yeah, Arkansas State is actually expected to be pretty solid this year. They could compete for the Sun Belt West, but this is not an easy opponent they play. Central Arkansas is expected to be a contender for the UAC. Their quarterback is back. So much of their offense is returning. They could potentially be one of the top teams in FCS, potentially even top 5. So this is a dangerous opponent that Butch Jones and Arkansas State bring into Jonesboro. By the way, I kind of like the in-state stuff that the state of Arkansas is doing this year. I mean, Arkansas State playing Central Arkansas. I actually think Arkansas State and Arkansas play each other soon. And then also Arkansas plays Arkansas Pine Bluff. So a state that hasn't prioritized in-state matchups is finally doing that.
And finally, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits at the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
This is legitimately a really good game, and I'm kind of disappointed this one did not end up on TV. I really don't know how. Like, I think everyone was expecting it to, then didn't.
It really should have. Like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Why is this not on TV? You have the.
I mean, remove the labels, and I mean, this is just, of all college football, this is actually a legitimate top 25 matchup potentially. If South Dakota State is even close to what they were the last 2 years, which I think they will be, this is a really good game. Like, Oklahoma State is not a, there's a lot of questions with a lot of the different FBS teams that we've gone over on this list. Oklahoma State's not one of them. They returned like 20-something starters. They're in the top 5 and like returning starters this year. Very experienced team. Ollie Gordon. This is just we're just displaying just how good the South Dakota State team is that puts this game up here.
Yeah. By the way, Ollie Gordon for Heisman.
Yeah. Although his Heisman hopes definitely would take a hit if they were to lose this game.
100%. He could have 400 yards rushing, and he wouldn't win the Heisman if they lost.
How wild would that be if Oklahoma State lost this game and then turned around and won the Big 12 to make the playoff?
That would be hilarious.
It would be amazing. It would be like our new era edition of like the year that Virginia Tech lost to James Madison and went on to win the ACC.
Yeah. That concludes our top 10 FCS over FBS upsets.
Now, a little fun here at the end. There's definitely different logos. Logos are a huge part of branding. And these programs, we think they've got it down pretty good. Here is our top 4.
Okay. Jumping into this, one, I know a guy who's from Arizona, and when he went back to see family, I asked him to find like a $5 Northern Arizona Lumberjacks hat. And he couldn't find it cheap. It's super expensive at the stores out there when he went. But that is an awesome logo. We are also UTRGV fans.
Did he look at the right place? Because I stumbled into a Northern Arizona hat. I think we had to stop at Walmart last year on our trip, and we were on our way up through Arizona to St. George, Utah. We stopped in Flagstaff, and we had to get something from Walmart. I can't remember what we had to get, but we ended up stopping the Walmart, like initially off the highway in Flagstaff, is also right down the street from the Walk-Up Sky Dome. And I go in there, and then I found a really awesome hat, and it was cheap.
Yeah. I don't know where he looked, but he was also on a family vacation, so I wasn't gonna like bust his chops for not finding me a hat. Like, it's not that big of a deal if he does. He probably went into like some sports shop looking for the hat, and instead of like TJ Maxx or Walmart or something. But we are big UT RGV fans, and we know they don't start till 2025. But we are super excited for their program. And how can you not like that logo? I mean, come on, look at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing.
And then probably the ultimate logo in all of college sports, the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these top two logos up at the top here. These programs haven't exactly had the most success, but it's definitely not because of branding. I mean, these are just two of the best logos in football altogether. Like, look at what they do. Like, Arkansas Pine Bluff there, like, having the AP in the mane of the lion with just the most amazing, like, roaring lion possible. And then Mississippi State,
they better not ever get rid of that. Like,
keep this logo forever.
Yeah, the top two, never get rid of your logos. Keep your logos for until the dawn of time or the end of time, because those are the two coolest in sports. And if you change them, nobody will like you.
I mean, literally, in all reality, all four on this list, never ever change it. I mean, you've done it. You've hit the peak.
I mean,
you've done your job.
I think Pine Bluff's logo is the best simply because they hide the school in the main. UAPB. Like, that's just like, whoever came up with that needs to be creating logos for every school that has a just Akron.
Arkansas Little Rock or Akron. Yeah.
Oh, they need to do Akron's logo. They need to do Vanderbilt's logo. They need to go around the country as a contractor to create logos for schools and get paid royalties on that logo.
Yeah. I mean, I think Arkansas Pine Bluff has used this logo for some time. So I hope they know what they've landed on here. I hope they know they've landed on an incredible
It's pure gold.
logo.
Like,
it's perfection. You literally, I mean, yeah, I know you have to rock with the same logo forever, but you've done it. I mean, you've done the job. You've hit the nail on the head with this logo. And yeah, I mean, that's it. You've done incredible work. And same for Mississippi Valley State. And really, I mean, even Northern Arizona, like, a running lumberjack with the axe in hand is perfect. And then also, like, you even subtly threw the mountain in the A there. Like,
yeah,
it's just amazing.
Like, it's the Vaqueros, so I think the one on the list that could change and still like find a way to get cooler is the Vaqueros, because the other three, I don't think you can get cooler than those three. But the Vaqueros, you could really find a way to make that even better. But like right now, it's like the perfect logo for like definitely starting out. It's probably one of the cooler, like, fresh program logos.
Right. And I mean, I think they have a lot they can do just because their color scheme is really awesome. But this logo is fantastic. I don't know if this one's their main logo, but
I think the V. I
think
the V at the end for the Vaqueros, like how they did the Valley to the Vaqueros logo. I think that's their main logo, but like if they change that to their secondary logo and then have like come up with some insane, hire the guy that did the Arkansas Pine Bluff to create a Vaquero. I don't know what a Vaquero is. I would have to Google that. I know they're taking over a former soccer stadium, so that'll be cool. But if they come up
I'm assuming it's some sort of like
cowboy or like a bad cowboy, outlaw or some sort.
Cowboys, yeah, some sort of outlaw or something.
Yeah, like that. They could do a lot with that. But as it stands right now, a ghost-looking horse with some mean guy with an orange face. Probably some hidden meaning there, but we're not going to dive deep into that one. I mean, keep that logo for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And look at the lasso. Like he's ready to lasso. He's ready to lasso the lumberjack next to him there.
Yeah. So these are our top 4. Moving on, Justin.
For our next 4 here. Yeah, so Maine has a really cool logo. I've always liked the black bear. The only thing I could see differently is maybe doing a whole entire bear. But
Yeah.
I mean, it'll also be kind of tougher to put your team name there. I kind of like when you put the team name as well. But yeah, they hit it pretty good here. It's actually kind of funny because Maine is the only New Balance branded team in all of college sports. And actually, I happened to stumble upon having I think it's like an official team issue New Balance polo of Maine
Hell yeah.
for their football team. So, I wore that. I think I wore that golfing the other day. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that. I mean, like there's so many Bears logos out there. I mean, look at Morgan State. Look at Montana State. Look at Montana. Look at
Montana. Don't do
Missouri
that.
State.
No,
Yeah,
no. We just
I'm
got
not-
the good graces there, and now you just tried to ruin it all.
Yeah, but look at Montana. Look at Morgan State. Look at Missouri State. Look at Maine. Like they're all Bears, but they're all unique. And that's what makes Maine like near the top of the list because they're one of the few teams that can actually keep Maine, like their school, embedded in the logo.
Right. Yeah, and I mean you jump to Morgan State, but they have a good one too. Like they kind of maintain more of like a brown bear picture. Really fitted in well with their
brown bear.
colors.
What do you see?
Oh my, it's so fun.
If Morgan State ever faces like a team like the Cardinals, I am singing that. Because the next one in line is a red bird looking at me. And if you have toddlers, you'll know that book very well. But Morgan State, my only knock on the logo is it looks like it already missed me. Like that's my only knock.
The
is
slot. But I mean, that's the second one ready to go. Like, maybe it's a bit of a misdirection. Like, hey, I'm getting you here, but guess what? I got that second paw ready to go, and I'm going to get you there.
Yeah.
By the way, in general, like, I mean, you could almost fill this whole list just with HBCUs. HBCUs do a really good job of logos.
Oh yeah, 100%. McNeese State though. Is that McNeese State?
Yep, that's McNeese State.
Yeah. That is probably one of the best bucking bronco logos that I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, the bucking bronco for sure had to be on here. They got an upgraded M over a certain other M that exists in college sports. But yeah, I like that logo a lot. And then moving on to South Dakota State, I mean, the Jackrabbit, just look how perfect that logo is. I mean, they got the whole name in there and everything.
They got the whole name. They have you could see that the Jackrabbit has speed by the way it's running. It's angry.
Yeah, look at that.
Normally, if you had a bunny as a logo, I would say, okay, well, like this isn't Easter, move on to a better logo. But they did it. They found a way to make that cool.
Right. I mean, yeah, just an amazing job. I mean, seriously, again, you gotta give it to these programs and whoever designed their logos for just the job they have done. We have 2 more to round out our top 10 here.
Utah Tech might have the coolest bison-y looking logo I've seen ever.
Right. And really, I mean, this is pretty new. Like, they had to rename their program and stuff. And they went with Utah Tech, and they actually did a pretty good job at the branding here using this bison logo.
And even the script, like the font that they used for Utah Tech is even like you can tell it's modernized, but it looks pretty cool also. Like they could go a lot of different directions with this, and I think they nailed it.
Right. Yeah, they nailed it for sure. Huge fan of their logo. And then finally, another HBCU, Alabama State.
Probably one outside of Mississippi Valley State, probably the next best logo in HBCUs.
Well, I mean, Arkansas Pine Bluff, don't forget them as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. But, like, I think they played for the championship one year, or they got a nationally televised game, and they had a slightly different logo back then, and I thought that logo was better. But still, look how mean that hornet is.
Oh, yeah, you're about to get stung, dude.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, I got stung on the knuckle of my middle toe when I was walking through my yard, and it hurt so bad. I haven't been stung by a bee since I was a little kid, so like I forgot how bad it hurt.
Oh my, that's brutal, man.
Yeah.
So anyways, to wrap this up, we have also 4 of our favorite logos to bring back because they used to exist and now they either aren't used at all or not used as prominently. So Montana has kind of gone to the more simple logo, which actually you can see on the shirt I'm currently wearing. But I mean, the walking
or the script Grizz. The script Grizz is pretty cool. We could have included that in the last section, but like, you're the Grizzlies. That Grizzly logo is like perfect.
Yeah, I think Montana hit a peak here. I mean, they still have cool logos, the other ones, but I mean, this Grizzly just was all time. I always remember seeing this growing up and thinking about how cool the Montana Grizzlies were because I mean, this logo is just amazing.
Yeah. The Chattanooga Mocs, that by far is the best logo they could have chosen. And I don't know what their logo is now, but I know it's not that, and it can't be as cool as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not much of a logo. It's just a gold C. So that's probably why you don't remember it. But man, I know the letters are not logos, guys. They're not.
Unless it's like the Bearcats where it's like the C with the line and the paw.
Yeah,
over it.
But I mean, we're talking about teams that just did letters pretty much.
Only letters.
And by the way, when we start getting to FBS ones at some point this summer, we're going to come down hard on some of these teams. We're going to start going on the offensive against these logos. And obviously, we already called out Akron and Vanderbilt earlier. But back to this, though, like, please bring this back, Chattanooga. This logo is just so amazing. Like, you've got a bird driving a train. How did you come up with this? And I mean, it's just so perfect.
How do you move on from that? Like,
yeah,
there's no way to possibly follow that up either. Like, look how awesome it is. Plus, like, going along with that logo, you could have like every first down, the train, like you could put a train in your stadium, and then every time you score a touchdown or get a first down, you could be like Chattanooga, like
right.
You could have like a whole thing with it.
The possibilities are endless. And I mean, like, you know, maybe you could simplify it a little bit. Like, I think they've kind of tried to go more with just calling themselves Chattanooga. You know, obviously you can see the little University of Tennessee at Chattanooga there. I think they kind of want to be more Chattanooga now, but you could easily take that out and just keep the Chattanooga Mocs branding there. Yeah, or, you know, just simply just stick with the bird and the train.
And that ETSU logo, man, that buck is so mean.
For real. Like, look at that.
Can you imagine walking into a stadium and seeing that on the turf and then going, geez, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is just I think they kind of use this in some way still, but not as prominently as they used to. They need to
don't they just use like the ETSU? Logo.
Yeah, kind of the ETSU, but then they also have a newer buck that's kind of updated. It's kind of side facing. It's still pretty good, but it's not as intimidating as this one.
That guy looks like he's gonna rip your heart out, and that you better be ready for a tough matchup. Like maybe they went away from it because quite possibly their program started to dip, but that needs to be their logo, and they should never change from it ever.
Never change, guys. The next one is now. Keep in mind this last program here. They still have a pretty cool logo now. They just kind of simplified it, but man, it's hard to match the angry bear with that claw like that from Northern Colorado.
Yeah. Speaking of another bear program,
Bears have really hit the funny thing is, like, if we, oh yeah, by the way, we also decided not to include Delaware or Missouri State in this because they're kind of transitioning to FBS. Missouri State also has a cool bear logo, so I obviously there's a lot you could do with having a bear as your moniker, but but yeah, this is
like this logo, like even if you just take the Northern Colorado out of it and have that bear be your logo, you could cut it in half and have two separate logos off of that. You could, like, on the pants and on the jersey sleeves, you could have like bear claw marks.
yeah, like that angry claw is coming for you.
Yeah. Like that would be so cool. Like that these teams, we need to be representatives for teams. Like ask us if you need to change your logo and we will tell you straight up yes or no. These four should never have changed their logo, but I will say the Montana, you did good with the Grizz. I will say that. But you need to bring back that bear.
I like, and really, like, I mean, Chattanooga's probably the only one who changed their logo and didn't bring his, like, they just stuck with a letter, which is kind of disappointing. East Tennessee State, I like their other Buccaneer logo still. It's just not, what this one was. Northern Colorado went to just a bare face, and it's still really good. But man, that angry claw was just so intense.
Yeah. That's it, right? We don't have any more logos.
Yep.
Is that the show? Did we end the show?
That's the show.
Well, you guys, if you've made it this far, have listened to us ramble on about quite a bit. My cat is sleeping over here, and my other cat is sleeping over there. We have put them to sleep. But if you're still following along with us, give us a shout out on, tell us how we're doing, whatever platform you use. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Facebook. All of them are at Updog Sports Talk. It really wasn't hard to find.
I forgot Threads was a thing.
Yeah, I did too. We're not doing too bad on there, but Instagram makes it easy that when I post something on Instagram, I can post it on both Threads and Facebook, so I don't really have to do a ton of work there. But yeah, subscribe to our channel, click the little bell. And yeah, Chad wasn't able to join us today. It was a really early morning. And this is like the only day he doesn't have to get up super early. So don't blame him there. Happy Father's Day, all the dads out there. And yeah, see you guys.
Have a good one, everyone.